Hey guys, so looks a little different, huh? Today I'm going to do my very first cooking video of the new channel setup.
Cheyenne!
So yeah, what I'm going to do is going to show you my awesome spaghetti sauce recipe. The reason I'm holding up one, and I don't know why have I covered the label? You guys know I'm all about the great value. So what I'm going to do is show you how I combined different jarred sauce and then make them into my own little recipe. So let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing I have to do, I crank mine up to usually about medium heat. Mine's got a 1 through 10 system, so I usually have around like 6 or 7 on heat. So there's that. The first thing that I do once that thing let it warm up a little bit is I use the 1 pound rolls, because usually these are a lot cheaper than just doing, you know, like the packs. So I got one of these, and I'm gonna cut it open and put it in there and get it browning up a little bit. And one of the tricks with getting it out of here is not so much even, you gotta cut it, but then usually I cut a slit, and that way it helps loosen it. I know this is kind of not appeasing right now, but how it works. Oh, getting nice and hot now. And then just drop it in there. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of those things, but they're cheaper and they do the job. Usually what I kind of do to help break it up is just kind of push down, kind of like you almost pretend it's cookie dough tube, and you just kind of smush it down. That's step 1, of course. I'll show you step 2 here in a sec. Just kind of stab it, get your anger out a little bit. And just kind of break up the chunks a little bit here. One of the other things that I put in here to help kind of do down, because I add extra mushrooms to it. So what I'll do is open this can and add the juice from the mushrooms to help put liquid in there to help it brown a little faster. And I love that they finally changed these to pull tops, so oh gosh, so I don't have to worry about hitting the can opener. I'm letting a cat hear me. But yeah, use whatever type of ground beef you prefer. Right now I've got it on, I'm using, I think it's like 80-20, if you guys saw. For me, that helps with the flavor because, as you'll see, I'll empty all these jars into here. And then when I get them, once I get done, I mix it up and you'll see. And I'll put it back in these jars. So one of the things why I like, you know, using the fattier ones is it helps with keeping the flavor in the jar when I put them in the freezer. So then, of course, you know, plus it kind of helps spread it out a little bit. Oh, I've never been feeling good. But it helps spread it out. So that way it goes a lot farther. Because, you know, the grease is in the jar too. And you can choose to strain that out if you want. I don't. But, like I said, for me, it helps with the flavor. So, watch and let that simmer for a little bit. And then I'll show you the next step. Also, one thing, I ended up emptying out one of my jars a little sooner. Just because I kind of needed to make some stuff without the meat in it. Because I was doing something with chicken. But I've cleaned this jar out. Because usually I end up with adding this, and sometimes when I add other stuff and like the mushrooms, I end up with almost 1 extra jar of sauce. So I usually try to use up one or wash one out and save it from previous adventures. But one year I even tried, even bought like canning jars and use those as well. So you just, you know, teach their own. If you want, if you're the kind who makes your own sauce from scratch anyway, you don't use jars, sauce like I do, yeah, totally. Get some canning jars and, you know, do it however you like it. But this is my recipe. This is what, and every time it changes a little bit. But the spices and stuff, me and my sister have been doing for years. So, you see, the meat's looking, you know, pretty. There's still little pink spots, but of course, it's still going to cook for a while. So, now what we do is go ahead and dump in the shroomage here. Get that in there. Sometimes I'll cut it. I get the, if you guys saw, I get the pieces and stems, which is pretty much just the cheapest of the mushrooms. Yeah, I like those better. And everything here is great value. Great value beef, great value mushrooms, great value spaghetti sauce. Can you tell I'm all about the Walmart brands? Not a sponsor, but, you know, Walmart, you guys want to sponsor me, I will not cry. So the sauces I've got, this one's one of my favorites. It's the chunky mushroom and green pepper sauce. And you can tell I have used this one a little bit as well for something else. So it's already been minimized down a bit, so that'll also help for when I go to re-jar them. This one won't be as much. And then I've got my second favorite one is the chunky Italian Garden pasta sauce. This one's got diced tomatoes, onions, celery, green pepper, carrots, and zucchini. One of the things that I didn't do this time that I usually do is I will chop up some squash and zucchini and put it in there as well to kind of give it a little bit of a healthier flair. I just didn't this time. Like I said, each time is a little different because I sometimes will put a little more of one spice or a little less of another spice. So, like I said, each time is slightly different. Sometimes I'll even put the spices in while the meat's cooking. Sometimes I wait till the sauce and put it in. So I'm just stirring it up a little bit right now, just to kind of give me some room. And then I've got flavored meat sauce to give a little bit more of that beefy flavor. I don't know if you guys can see, but like right here we actually can see a little bit of a carrot in the sauce. So yes, there are really carrots in there. So we got the meat one. And it's interesting how some of them are slightly different colors. Just depending on what's in them. And then last but definitely not least of these sauces, we have chunky tomato, garlic, and onion. So let me turn down the heat a little bit. Crank it down to like a medium low. It's about a 4 on mine. I might even crank it farther than that. A little splash cam there. Let me stir that up and then we'll talk spices. And I love how you can like hear it sizzling and then all of a sudden I start stirring it and the sizzling stops. You know, it's funny, something I was making a couple days ago. It's funny, every time I would just scrape the bottom of the pan, I could hear it like sizzling and stuff. It was really weird sound. One thing you gotta do is make sure to stir it good, because of course this, you know, these sauces aren't that thick, so the chunks of mushrooms and the ground beef are gonna find their way to the bottom. So you gotta make sure to keep stirring it and get all the flavors integrated. Now, for my favorite part, in this lovely container here is a mix of its garlic powder, curry powder, Parmesan cheese. Most of them I've emptied out containers in here. GB minced onions. The Parmesan, I believe, is great value. The curry, I think it's McCormick, and the garlic is whatever the green bottle. It's the cheap 88-cent company. And the other thing I've gotten here that we bought on clearance. Oh, there's my curry. It's oh, Spice Island. If you guys can read that there, Spice Island. And I've also got, oops, something Mom bought. It's organic, great value, Canadian style steak seasoning. It's got some interesting blends in there. Guys, see here. It has sea salt, organic spices, dehydrated garlic, organic dehydrated onion, organic paprika, natural hickory smoke flavoring. So, like I said, it's a steak seasoning, but I use it in my pasta as well. I used to do the, let me see what company is it? Oh, Fifth Season. This is another thing of theirs I've got, Fifth Season, but it's the green garlic powder that I've got in there. Like we used to do the Italian seasoning of that, but we've changed up. So yeah, that is all in here. I used to put them in separately, but I since got a fresh container that I could put it in, so there we go. And again, depending on your taste, I like to dump it in there. Teach their own on that kind of stuff. Ooh. I can put on this side just because I've got a lot of chunks. But again, like I said, you know, I've got curry powder in here, and the stuff that's in the Canadian seasoning can be a little spicy, but when you've got to mix with all this other stuff and then mixed in with this sauce, it's not so bad. But yeah, try to blend these spices really nice and well blended. You know, make sure if you can see like white streaks or anything like that, obviously you got a spot that didn't blend well. And just kind of whatever your stirring technique is. I like to do like the folding method, scoop and flip. And use a stock pot to your liking. I like this one, or I'll use my wok to make this just because of the way the heat distributes. But they're also just my two biggest containers, so I figure why not. So then the seasoning's in there. We'll just let it sit for a while and let the flavors kind of integrate and soak up one another. So like the spices get into the sauce, and the flavor of the meat and the mushrooms get soaked into the other veggies of the other jars. You just let that sit and simmer for a while, and then we'll check back on it here in about, I mean, it's up to you, depending on how hungry you are, or you know how much time you've got. Just kind of let it sit for maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. If you're going to leave it for a longer time, obviously set it down to a lot lower temperature, but I'm going to keep it about 3.5, and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. And yeah, and then start putting the jar in. I'll show you guys about how my process is with putting it in. Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you the jarring process. The jarring process. Just ignore what's back here. This is actually, this is the table that you were just sitting on. I'm unconventionally got you on my stove right now, but I made sure that the spots where you're at are not hot. But I needed to move you because, well, I am right-handed. And with doing this process, I was realizing where I had you pretty much blocked. So, I'm going to show you, I switched over to this. This is actually came out of the teal set that I bought on Black Friday. If you guys watched that haul video and watched that shopping video, that huge set, this was one of the things in it. So, I'm going to show you kind of what I do here. And I've already turned off the heat on this. One thing I recommend, keep your jar as close to the stove as possible. And one of the things is, you know, put it in nice and hot, because that's one of the things that will help seal it when you put it in the freezer, if you're going to freeze, if you're going to do a lot of them. And even if you do, like, you know, one jar, it'll help create the seal, again, to keep it fresher longer. But I try to do, I don't do like huge spoonfuls. I just do, you know, minor spoonfuls. And like this thing helped. I used to use this funnel and everything, like the canning funnels. But yeah, they don't quite fit these jars. And it creates less mess if you keep it close and nice small movements. And if you are sensitive to heat or anything like that, I do recommend wearing a glove when you do this, because the jar does get hot. Also, yeah, don't fill it up too far. Try maybe just above the label, because like I said, because there is, well, one, cold expands. If you took any kind of science, cold expands, glass breaks. Plus, with there being like the fat in there, it'll also expand up. And I have overfilled these, and thankfully the glass didn't break, but the lid popped off. So, yeah. And one thing I'm not going to show you because it's just weird. One thing I do, because, yes, sauce will get all over the jar. Wash it real quick in like some cold water. Pop it straight in the freezer. And for those of you who, I'm sure might have seen like those videos of somebody with like a Pyrex dish. They put it on the counter and exploded, and you've heard that cold and liquid can cause glass to break, especially hot glass. Yeah, every time I put these in the freezer, I've always been so scared that one's going to break. So far, haven't had that problem. Like I said, one thing that's good is to keep it on the edge of the pot here, just so you don't have to then hold the jar as it's getting heavier and heavier by the sauce. Let it do a little bit of the work. Plus, it helps to keep it warm. A little bit more. Like I said, not much more than that. It will cause problems. And one of the other things, you guys, you might notice this thing does not seem to move a whole lot. For me, I always keep, like, once it gets down to like 2 jars and I look and I'm like, oh my god. Usually it will not fill up all the jars, even when I have extra. I mean, a jar and a half empty. And yeah, I still feel like I'm not going to fill these jars. But usually I use what's left and I make, you know, go ahead and make some pasta. Sometimes I'll actually, while I'm doing this process, actually go ahead and set some aside in a small saucepan, or at least start cooking the noodles while I'm doing this. But this time I'm not, because I did just, and of course, remember, because glass does break in extreme temperatures one way or the other, and metal does not go good in microwaves. I recommend, especially if you're gonna, if you do this a lot like I do, one big thing to do is keep one jar, of course, in the fridge. But as soon as you empty that one, even if you don't plan on making sauce, you know, go ahead and move one down into the fridge. Just don't open it, and it'll be good. Just because I know, like, I'll like, nah, I won't make any pasta tomorrow. I won't move one down, and then all of a sudden something comes. I'm like, oh, you know what? I do want to make some pasta, and now I've got a frozen jar. But if you do end up having that problem, do not put it in the microwave. I mean, you can, but I don't recommend it, so don't get mad at me if you do that. Ha, do. What I recommend is take the frozen jar and just lay it on its side and fill your sink up with hot water and just kind of keep it running over it and just wait. And of course, like I said, yeah, there'll be, because I didn't empty these jars, so there'll be a little bit left at the bottom of each jar, and that's okay. It'll slowly integrate as you pour it in. Ooh, I'm almost, I might actually make it. No. I will still have some left over. It's inevitable. Like I said, usually I'll post the variations that I do down below. But sometimes, like I said, I'll cut zucchini or squash in this. Sometimes I'll add in extra diced tomatoes. Sometimes I'll put more mushroom than I did this time. Okay, I'm going to leave some in there for later tonight. Go ahead and cook up some pasta, dump it in there, and just let it sit and kind of marinate in the juices. The final jar is going into the refrigerator, so I'll have that. Alright, so there you have it, kids. That is how I make my awesome spaghetti sauce. There's really not much of a recipe to it. It's whatever you want in a jar, but I'll put some kind of recipe down below. If you have any questions, or if you need any recommendations on what else I might put in there, or if you've got ideas of what else I should put in there, let me know in the comments below. But again, welcome to 2018 and hopefully beyond. New Ginger Princess channel. You'll be getting weekly cooking videos, weekly vlogs, weekly live streams, weekly podcasts, and all that kind of fun. So make sure to hit the like button and let me know what kind of videos you want to see me do. I don't know if I'm going to do the cooking videos weekly, just because I don't know how much I can cook. But also, if you do have any recipes, or there's a Pinterest link that you want me to try out, make sure to leave them in the comments below and I'll check those out. And if it's kosher, no shellfish, no pork, I might actually try it out. So be sure to leave links or recipes down in the comments below, and I might try out your recipes. So love you guys, and I'll see you, well, tomorrow with, I don't know what tomorrow's video is, because I'm actually recording this like a month ago. So yeah, enjoy. Bye!